Welcome. I'm Anthony with Bad Idea Metals, and today we're going to tear apart some electronics that I've had in my shed since the summer. As you can see behind me, I've got a lot of work to do. It's finally starting to warm up around here. We're not below freezing, and so we're going to take care of some of this mess that's been accumulating. So today we're going to tear apart this old digital systems thing from the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Let's take a look at what's in here. I'm not exactly sure what this unit's for. I have no idea how much we could get for this. In general, it weighs about 50 or 60 pounds. So I'm guessing there's a lot of steel and there's a lot of copper in here. Other than that, I'm not exactly sure what's going to be in here. So let's dive right in and take a look. First things first, you see the rack mounts. This would have been the front. So we're missing the front panel to whatever this would have been. You can see here it's got the digital logo. So this was by Digital Computers. But other than that, I really don't know much of what to expect. Let's flip this over. Maybe there's something on the back panel. It's got a model number. We'll have to look that up. I'll leave that in the description. But it's got a fuse. I mean, just in general, this is a really big, heavy monster. But whatever it was, there's a lot of circuit boards in here. So let's go ahead and start pulling these out and just see what we have. All right. So let's take a look at how to get some of these components out first. Interesting. So right off, this is a huge logic board with just these flat dip style raised IC chips. I see a lot of gold plated pins right here where this ribbon was. And it's hard to ignore the fact that there are so many really long gold fingers. So this is a nice board. I can't promise that these ICs are going to be worth anything at all. Sometimes they have gold plated legs and none of these appear to have that. So right now I'm looking at these. They're very thick. You can feel them with just your finger running across them. So they're really thick, and these are the IDE style, if you're familiar with those, just the big rectangular pins. So this isn't a bad board. I just don't know if these chips are going to be worth much. There's the cable. Save that. It's probably be all much of the same for all these boards, but we'll look at each one. Again, we got our fingers there, nothing on the back. This is the same as the other board, the first one. It's got the ribbon cable on it. All right, so there's not a whole lot on this board. Kind of a fun board. Got all these copper, I imagine there'll be copper down inside, these copper traces. But the mount points are not gold plated, so we'll peel these off for its copper. Yeah, you can tell that there's copper in here. There's some pretty thick wires running in these ribbons. So we'll get these wires off. Those are the big cards. Let's get these smaller cards out now. We got a little bit of a puzzle box here. These cards seem to be in the way of getting this out, but I was going to get this out so I could get the cards out. All right, let's do what we can to get these out one at a time, yeah? It's a leverage problem here. Let's see if we can use the side of the case. There we go. Nothing that a little physics couldn't help us with. So same thing. We got some pins here, some fingers here. It's a single-sided board. Some trace wires. But overall, it's the same ICs. I don't think that those are going to be much, but we'll see what we can do when we break one open. Alright, so this one has a little ribbon in tow. Let's go ahead and pull that off. These have gold-plated pins, and the pins are gold-plated even on the back side. So that's a good sign that these are going to be some higher-grade pins than standard desktops these days. And here, now you can see it right here. I'm not sure if you can on the video, but you can see that here's some silver style and some gold-plated pins. So some of these chips will have gold-plated pins on their legs. So there's about 10 of them on this board. Again, it's a single-sided board, so that's pretty nice, but I still don't know what's going to be on the inside. But I'm optimistic that if they're going to gold plate the pins, then maybe there'll be some bond wires inside. So we'll move on. Come on, give to me the board. Well, that went flying. Got enough of the cards out of the way. I got to this unit. Now this is the most interesting heatsink I've ever seen. And heatsinks are always there to cool down hot components. So let's go take a look what gets so hot under here. That looks like it could be on the end of some sort of medieval weapon. Who knows? That might actually be what it's cooling down. Not sure what I will find under here. Oh, well, that is nice. Got to dodge the fuse here. I don't want to shatter a fuse right here on my desk, but there's gold pins. There's one here, but then there's 3 left on the board. Let's see if I can get one of these. See if I can get this guy out of here. Ouch. Nope. I'm just breaking it. There we go, got it. So there were these little gold pins injected into whatever this is. It's got a serial number on it, so I can look that up. I'll look that up and see what that is. But where did that pin go? It just goes into the board on this side. So go ahead and break these guys off so they don't break themselves off in the box that I usually put all my boards in, waiting to be processed. Not much on the front here. Let's see what the back had. It has all these capacitors here. This is definitely the power unit, and there is a 3-pin regulator right back here that has gold pins. So we'll have to process this, but this unit right here is probably about 5 pounds. So these, I don't know if you can tell, but that is one large capacitor right here. And it goes the entire length. That's about 4 or 5 inches. And a transformer of all transformers. Oh, man, he's still tied into everything too. Let's go ahead and try to unscrew some of these things. I'm gonna cheat and take this transformer out my way. just so you guys can see what I'm seeing, that's what I'm looking at. I don't have a whole lot of room to get those clips to let go. There might be a tool for it, but I'd have to go back to the 60s to get it. So I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna clip all these wires. Nice solid wires. That is for sure. All right, I believe we're free. Let's take a look. Huh. This guy is probably 15 pounds. It's got the steel ply sheeting. These transformers are a pain in the neck to open up for their copper, but I can do it. Let's put this on the ground for a minute. Still not very light. Take a look at what we got here. Take this capacitor off. When dealing with capacitors, capacitors function as an internal battery. It stores the charge for a period of time necessary to help keep the power constant. So you typically fill up a capacitor with power for as much as you're going to need. This capacitor is pretty big, and knowing that this had other capacitors, knowing that there were other capacitors inside this unit that were even bigger, makes me wonder how much power this actually was going to need. But here's my advice on capacitors. You want to make sure that they're discharged first, or you're going to kill yourself. The capacitor acts as a high voltage source temporarily. So the transformer either filled this up or relied on this to be full. It looks like it filled this up because the red wires don't come out. The red wires go in. And that this aided the transformation of the power to whatever voltage it was going to. And it says here that this is a 660 volt AC. So right there, that tells you that this is enough to fry anything. So when working with power and capacitors, if you're tearing things apart and it's a newish device, the fact that this is 50 years old, I wasn't concerned with it. But if this was a newer device, you'd want to make sure that this was discharged first. Otherwise, you could really be in a lot of trouble. So don't mess with these unless you've tried to discharge them safely. Okay, so let's see if that did it. That indeed did do it. All right, you see all these really long needles. These are used typically. You can bridge with custom wiring back here, similar to how it was on one of those boards. You can take wires. In fact, here's a good example of it. You see how they've soldered a wire here and it looped around and connected. I've seen boards, they look like old telecom panels where every single one of these has got like wires looped around it like everywhere. But the reason why they're so long is so that you can customize this board. It's almost like what people do with their PlayStations and Xboxes. You can mod them and bridge gaps and do whatever you want to try to get some different performance out of how it comes out of the box. This one seems pretty simple. Looking down here, there's a transformer, another capacitor, a bunch of wires, and no gold pins anywhere. The last thing to do is take off these fans, which might be a trick. Oh no, it's Phillips, and they're on the inside. Oh, these things are heavy. I'm guessing that they're aluminum housed. Oh, you know what? I didn't have to sever that. It would have let go. But I can probably wire that up. This probably is still good. It's a nice heavy duty fan. These, let's get these fingers off. Just typically take pliers, break them along. Now, if you've watched my video on how I do RAM different than this. I do other fingerboards this way though. Okay. Last curiosity that I have is how fine are these fingers on here. Just a few things that I want to do still. I want to see what the quality of these pins inside these ribbons are. Ribbon cables are pretty easy to get into. The most part. Yeah, there are some that you're gonna run into difficulty with. Oh yes. Huh. They're gonna be gold plated all the way back to the teeth into the ribbon. That is exciting. Try to get this off a little bit better here. There we go. Now let's pull one of these teeth out. You can see right here that they're quite gold plated. Got the wrong pliers out here to do this. I've got pliers that are nice for that. But can you see that? Those pins, they may not be thickly coated, but they're completely coated. And there's about, I don't know, about 40 pins right there. So these ribbons are nice. I like these old ribbons. Well, thanks for sticking with me. This machine, I have no idea what it did. It probably handled data transfer. With all these different chips, it was definitely doing some sort of calculation. I would say this was probably about, yeah, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe $25 worth of scrap, depending on whether those IC chips had gold in them or not. It's hard to tell. I didn't get any definitive look. I'll have to figure out how to get those plastic caps off. The resin caps, the modern IC chips use, you can use sulfuric acid and wet ash, or you can just burn them and incinerate them, and then they break up. I'm worried that these are plastic, and that when you go to incinerate them, they're just gonna melt all over everything and then make a big mess. I've got a few other servers just like this one. They're different, and so I'll tear those apart in their own videos. So look for those in the near future. Hopefully, the weather will warm up enough here pretty soon that I can actually refine some of this down, and I can give you an idea about how much gold was inside this machine, as well as some of these other machines. As always, please like, please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a good night.